Every build reaches a point where the real transformation begins, where a regular bike frame stops just being metal and bolts and starts turning into something personal. It's the stage where you stop fixing things and start creating something that represents you. This is the moment for my Bajaj Boxer. So as you can remember, a few months ago, I bought this old Boxer, rough, rusty, and barely holding itself together. I didn't know exactly what it would become, but I knew I wanted to bring it back, better than before. The first few days were all about tearing it down, one bolt at a time. I stripped off panels, removed parts, and before I knew it, my floor was covered in pieces of history. I broke tools along the way, fought with stubborn bolts, and eventually pulled out the engine, swing arm, front forks, and everything that made it a bike. What was left was just a frame and a dream. It's been a while since I uploaded my last episode. Life got busy, but I had a new reason to smile. My baby daughter. Becoming a dad changes everything. Priorities shift, time disappears, but that passion, it never dies. And during that time, people doubted me, saying that this build was impossible, that it's just a bunch of metal collecting dust. But that did not threaten me one bit. It actually fueled me up even more. So now I'm back in the garage, whatever kind of garage this is, but I'm back with my tools. I'm back to finish what I started, because this is my story. Starting off with is the frame. We're gonna take all the rust, all the paint off on the frame. So it's gonna get that full fresh silver look, and then we could do a full fresh paint all over it. And there's a bit of rusty bits here, but the welders will do their job on this when the time comes. I got hold of a grinder, some sandpaper, some heavy grit sandpaper, and we're just gonna take this all off. Well, I'm gonna attempt to take the paint off. So right now, I'm using the angle grinder with the sanding disc to strip off the old paint. And yeah, it's working really well. But mate, I'm absolutely flying through these sanding pads. Like every few minutes, one's done for. At this rate, I'm gonna need shares in a sandpaper company. But it's fine, we move. The paint's just that stubborn. Years of grime, dust, and whatever else has been baked onto this frame. But honestly, this is the satisfying part. Watching that old rough paint disappear and bare metal starting to show up. That's when you know the bike's coming back to life. So, we've got rid of 4 sandpaper sheets, well, the sandpaper disc sheets. We've got a different approach. I think I'm just gonna cut off what I don't really need, and then we're gonna brace it with the old bracing that we have to strengthen the structure. So we're gonna go to the bazaar now and get the cutting disc. Let's go. So, we went to the bazaar, we got a blade that can cut through the metal, but obviously before we do that, we're just gonna do a quick rough measurement on where we want to cut it. We don't want to cut it too short or too long, but it's best to just keep it a bit long so we can adjust it later on. As I mentioned, I needed a cutting attachment for the grinder, so I took a quick trip down to the bazaar and picked one up. This thing should slice through steel no problem. I've already marked out where I'm going to make the cut, right at the rear end of the frame. The plan here is to completely redesign the back of the bike. I'm going for this sort of retro racer, scrambler, hybrid type look. Something with a rounded tail, cleaner lines, and the old school vibe, but still tough enough to handle anything. Basically, the goal is to take the Boxer from being just a commuter to something that actually turns heads. Alright, so to recap, we've took these extensions off from both of each side, so it was here. So now that we're going to do a single seat conversion, we're just going to chop it off, and then we're gonna brace it with this little bracing bracket here. I don't know what it's for. I think it's mainly just for seating the seat on, like putting the seat on. So yeah, we're gonna Once we find time, we're just gonna go to the workshop and just weld this on, get this welded on nicely. All right, I'm in some next man's workshop and I've just had a delivery. I ordered this stainless steel round end piece that's gonna form the new rear section of the frame. I went with stainless because it's so much easier to work with, easy to cut, easy to shape, and it's strong. Plus you can find it pretty much anywhere and everywhere, which makes life a lot easier. Before I go ahead and weld this onto the frame, I've got to make sure it's actually got something solid to grab onto. So what I've done is shoved a bit of solid steel tubing inside the open ends of the frame I just cut. That way when I weld the new piece on, it's not just sitting on a thin edge, it's reinforced from the inside. It gives the weld something to bite into and adds way more strength to the rear end. Once that's in place, I can line up the new round end and start tacking it on. And this is where the whole look of the bike changes. That smooth curve at the back gives it that proper retro racer scrambler silhouette sort of look I've been going for. Clean, solid, and just a little bit mean. It's a small piece of metal, but it completely changes the personality of the bike. This is the part where it stops looking like a commuter and starts looking like a build. Right, we're back from the welder shop. We've got the round done, and now what we're going to do is start working out the seat size and the seat shape, because we've got to really get this right, or else we'll just mess up the whole shape and the look on the bike. And we're gonna go for a nice cafe racer style seat. And if you're wondering why I'm sweating so much, because I'm on the rooftop and it's boiling up here, and there's a lot of noise going on downstairs, so that's why we're on the rooftop, and you might just see me sweating in this video.
Ugh. Brother, ugh.
So first, we're gonna cut out the seat shape on a piece of cardboard. Then we're gonna cut out a piece of cardboard with that seat shape, so it gives a solid base when I add the fiberglass body on it for the seat design, if you understand what I'm saying. Because as it is my first time using fiberglass, I might not be the best at it, or it might just not be as strong as I wish it to be. That's why I'm reinforcing it with the steel seat base. So yeah, let's get to it. So what I got myself is just some ordinary cardboard, and all I'm gonna do is lay over just like so and get it cut out to design. We've got the foundation for our steel base. I mean, it doesn't look the prettiest yet, but once it's cut out on a steel sheet and we've laid it over, we've grinded it down, it'll look a lot better, trust me. Alright, so now that the rear end's sorted, it's time to move on to something I've been really looking forward to, the seat design. I've drawn up a rough template for the new seat base on a bit of cardboard, just to get the shape and proportions right before I go anywhere near the metal. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of any build, when you start seeing the design come to life, even if it's just on cardboard. I'm keeping it simple but solid, something that flows with that rounded tail I just welded in. The seat's gonna sit low and tight to the frame, with a bit of that retro racer scrambler hybrid vibe. Once I'm happy with the template, I'll cut it out and transfer it onto the steel plate for the final seat base. It's weird, but this bit actually feels exciting because up until now it's all been grinding, cutting, welding, but now it's starting to look like something. You can see where it's going, and that's the part that really keeps you going. That's the cardboard mock-up done, and came out pretty much exactly how I wanted it. Now it's time to make it real. I'm transferring this design straight onto a thick piece of steel. This is going to be the actual seat base. I decided to go with a heavy steel base for this one. It's not the lightest option, but it gives the bike that solid, proper old school feel, and it's going to hold up to anything I throw at it. Plus, it just fits the vibe of this build, strong, raw, and built to last. This is one of those moments where the project feels like it's actually happening. You've been planning it, measuring it, sketching it out, and then suddenly you're holding the real thing in your hands. It's a slow process, and this steel isn't easy to work with, but that's part of the fun. Every cut, every edge is one step closer to turning this frame into something personal. And trust me, the final look is going to be worth every bit of effort. So, before the frame goes off for paint, I need to get it prepped properly. That means sanding. Sounds simple, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. At first, I started off gentle, bit of sanding here and there. Then I realized this paint isn't normal. It's like it's fused with the metal itself. I'm going through sandpaper like it's tissue paper. So I started trying, well, everything. Wet sanding, nope. Petrol, diesel, spirit, kerosene, even brake fluid. And that stuff usually melts through paint like butter. But nope, this paint just laughed at me. At this point, I'm starting to think I need some kind of magical potion. Maybe straight out of a wizard's garage or something. Because nothing on earth seems to take this off. But jokes aside, I'm getting there slowly. The goal is to have the frame smooth and clean before it goes in for paint. And before that, I still need to take it to the workshop to weld on the seat brackets. That's what's going to hold the new steel seat base. Once that's done, it's finally ready for the big transformation, the paint. So after a whole bunch of scrubbing with sandpaper, I realized it was a total loss. So then I went online and I got myself one of these paint removal sprays. Main reason is because it bonds with the paint, causes a chemical reaction and gets rid of the toughest paint known to mankind. So yeah, paint removal spray, let's get going. Well, let's give this a try. Now this stuff is wild. It bonds with the paint, causes a full-on chemical reaction, and then, get this, the paint literally starts peeling off like a soggy slice of pizza left out in the rain. I mean, I wish I'd found this earlier. I could have saved about 10 sandpaper discs and maybe a bit of my sanity. Plus, the pressure was on too. The frame's going in for paint tomorrow, so I didn't have time to mess around. I needed this sorted and fast. And honestly, watching the paint just slide off like that was one of the most satisfying things I've seen this whole build. Sometimes it's not about the brute force, it's about finding the right trick. So, the paint remover, yeah, it works amazing, but there's one small problem. This stuff goes everywhere, like, I swear a single gust of wind and suddenly it's on my arm, my face, my shirt, except where I actually want it. At this point, I'm thinking I need one of those full-on hazmat suits just to use it, because when this stuff touches your skin, oh, you feel it alright. It gives you this instant burning sensation, like the paint's getting its revenge. And honestly, I don't even want to imagine what happens if it gets in your eyes. One wrong move and I'll be painting the inside of the hospital instead of the frame. But hey, pain is temporary, progress is permanent, and this paint is finally giving up. Slowly but surely, the Boxer's frame is stripping down to the bare metal, ready for its next step, the seat brackets and fresh paint. So that's where we're ending things for today. The frame is finally stripped down. Every bit of that stubborn old paint is gone. The frame's already been sent off for paint, and honestly, that's when you know things are coming together. Next up, we've got the welding to finish. The new seat brackets are going on, locking in the whole rear section. And while that's happening, I'll be working on the cosmetic design, figuring out the paint scheme, the finishing touches, and all the little details that are going to make this build look unique. This episode's been all about prep work, stripping back, shaping, laying the foundation. But from here on, things are going to start looking a lot more exciting. So stick around, because the next part is where the Bajaj Boxer finally starts to transform into what I've had in my head since day one. This is the part where the vision starts becoming reality. And you guys will see that too. So on that note, I'ma see you guys on the next ride. Peace. And it's just not worth my time and money. But what they don't realize is I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I feel like doing it. And it's a way to test